during July. All order.
Okay, turn your mics on, please. Everybody turn their mics on. And we'll call the meeting to order and we'll have the flag pledge at this time.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next thing, Clerk, would she take the roll call, or you want me to take it?
I can.
Okay,
Okay. Chair Ames,
here.
Commissioner Jorgensen,
Here.
Commissioner Perro. Here. Commissioner Beast,
Here.
Commissioner Happala,
Here.
Commissioner Lewis is out sick. Commissioner Carlson,
Here.
Administrative Assistant Riley. Yes, here. And Planner Nash.
Here.
Here. And myself, Natalie Johnson.
Thank you.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Here, thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to have our election for our chair and our vice chairman for this coming year. And we'll open up the nominations for the chair at this time. I'll volunteer for another year. Is there any other nominations?
I'll nominate Commissioner Bias.
Okay. Commissioner Bias has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. This will be a roll call vote because legally it's gotta be posted how each one of us votes. So I'll start over here with Commissioner Pearl first.
Bias.
Okay. Commissioner Carlson.
Ames.
I voted for myself. Commissioner Hippel.
Vote for Ames.
Commissioner Bees.
Bees.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
We'll go for Ames.
Okay. So Ames is our chairman for another year. Now we're going to vote for vice chairman. Do we have any nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Commissioner Bias. Please.
Okay, Mr. B has been nominated. Is there any more nominations?
I'll nominate Commissioner Happala.
Okay. Commissioner Heppel has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I'll call for the roll vote. Call for the vote again from the roll call vote. Commissioner Jorgensen.
I guess I'll go with.
Okay, Commissioner Bees.
I'll vote for myself, I guess. Bees.
Okay, Commissioner.
I'll vote for Bees.
Okay. Okay. I'll vote for Hippola, make it wrestling. Commissioner Wilson.
I'll vote for Bees then.
And Bias, please.
Okay,
Bees, vice.
Commissioner B is the vice chairman for this year. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is approve or amend the agenda that for tonight. Somebody like to make a motion to move
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
Commissioner Carroll made the motion, just who'd like to second it?
I'll second.
Commissioner Carlson seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote on all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think it was all ayes. Okay, the next thing is they got a list of the meeting dates that we're gonna have for next year, I believe it was. the only date that I see on there that in my 51 years, we've never had a meeting in December. And I think this year, the meeting would fall the day before Christmas, and I think we'd have a hard time getting people out, but we'll wait until later on in the season to revisit this, because like I say, to my knowledge, we've never had one in December. Okay, the next thing is to approve the minutes from the October 22nd meeting, 2024, the regular meeting. Would somebody like to make that motion?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, Commissioner Hipla moved.
No,
Was but B's
Yeah.
okay. Okay, who'd like to second this?
I'll take it.
Oh, right. Okay. I'll take Harold there. Okay, Harold, Commissioner Jorgensen seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
I,
I think it's all ayes. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is open our first public hearing. And the first public hearing has to do with a preliminary plat of Peterson's Acres. So now that's open, and I'm gonna ask the planner what she has to present on that. She's not here tonight, so she's gonna come, she's gonna speak to us, is she?
Yes,
Yeah.
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry that I'm not able to be there in person tonight. And we do have a bit of a delay from when I'm talking to when I can hear it. Tonight, though, the first item is the preliminary plat and final plat for Peterson Acres. They have changed the plat from when you saw it last time in 2024. The plat now has a total of 3 lots. One is where the house on the east side is. Another one makes the lot that the Kettlers have larger. And then there's one large, very large lot remaining. So now there's not a need for public road and water improvements. So they're asking to consider both the preliminary and the final plat at the same time. And a copy of those findings of fact are in your packet.
Yes.
Dan, you guys are not talking, can you use your microphone?
We lost her.
Chairman Ames.
Yeah.
Quick question for you. Can we ask Cindy to highlight where the 3 lot line separation is so everybody, it's very clear for everybody? I know we have this in our packet, but it's not very clear.
See, this is a former Benny Amburn's place up the road here.
So that. All right, thank you. The one on the right side of the Benny Amburn's. The one on the left ties into the house that's.
Adding on to there, yes.
And then it leaves the big lot in the.
Right.
That's why I just need to. It's very difficult to see.
Did we lose the planner?
I'm still here. There's an audio
Yes,
issue though, and I'm hoping staff can admit me from my phone instead, and I'm gonna turn off the audio on my computer.
Page 6.
So I was really hoping to be able to log in from my phone instead, because I think the audio might be better. Or I'm hoping there's not the lag.
You sound good now.
Planner Nash,
Yes.
Yes.
to your knowledge, are there any recommendations that would be unusual for this lot division?
No, I'm not aware of any.
No, I'm not aware of any.
We can hear you very good.
I can hear you as well. There's just about a
I can hear you as well. There's just about a
7 or so second lag, and then I start hearing myself
7 or so
again.
second lag, and then I start hearing myself again.
We can mute the. Oh.
Turn off.
Touch it. Just gently touch it.
If you want to talk. Yeah, Cindy, can you hear us now?
Like I said, I can hear you. There's just gonna be a lag anytime I
Like I
talk.
said, I can
So
hear you. There's just gonna be a lag anytime I talk, so.
so there's nothing unusual that either the city engineer or
There's nothing
myself
unusual
saw.
that either the city engineer or myself saw.
So we are recommending approval of both the preliminary and the
We
final
are
plat.
recommending approval of both the preliminary and the final plat.
And there's a copy of a
There's a copy
findings
of
of fact
a,
in your packet.
findings of fact in your packet.
Do you want us to go through the
Just touch. Just a,
there it is. Do you want us to go through the finding of facts?
If you would like to, you can. I don't think it's probably a great idea for me to keep talking because of this lag. It's really causing issues.
Because of this lag, it's really causing issues.
Okay, we should go through the finding of facts and
Chairman, do you want to see if there's any public input?
that's some other process to go through here first. Number one, we're gonna ask the clerk to verify the mailing of everything's mailed out to publications. Okay. And now we'll probably go through the finding of fact. Kelly, Commissioner Pearl, would you like to read the?
Everyone here probably hasn't seen the findings of facts, but the recommendations are 20-foot wild trail easement on the south side of 205th that runs the north side of the entire property. A conditional use permit granted by the council has been revoked for the previous recording. All public infrastructures, including water, sewer, stormwater, roads, will be dedicated or located within drainage utility easements. Comments contained within the engineer's memos are included in this, and they were dated January 17th, will be part of this approval. Improvements to the property shall be constructed in substantial conformance with the site plans and to conform with requirements of staff's memos. If updated site plans addressing the comments of the resolution, staff memos, and outside agencies necessitate revisions of lot lines or easements on the subject property, then those shall be incorporated into the final plat and submitted by the developer. Compliance with these requirements may result in changes to the removal of lots, outlots, easements, and right-of-ways, which in that case, the developer will revise the plans and final plans as necessary. To the extent that there are differences of conflicts between site plan and resolution, the terms of the resolution shall be controlling unless and until modified by a final plat resolution. The timing of construction for an infrastructure improving on the subject property will be subject to the conditions of a developer's agreement between the city and developer. The title commitment shall be provided for the review of city attorney before final plat is released and recorded. Financial security in the form approved by city attorney and in the amount approved by the engineer must be provided by the developer prior to release of final plat for recording. And developer's agreement will be specify the amount for the financial security. The developer must reimburse the city for all costs incurred by the city and its consultants. No wetlands will be impacted during construction of any homes. Buffers require that unmowed areas adjacent to wetlands are maintained and not invasive, with non-invasive vegetation for the purpose of filtering pollutants before they enter the wetland. And there's a whole bunch of other companies in regards to that. There's the DOT, the BWSE, NRCS, and the SWCD. Individual septic design, system design will be required at the time of a building permit and approved by a building official. The subdivision will create one new lot of the city code stormwater management of only 10,000 square feet for impervious surfaces created. At that time, the subdivision will not recreate any new road impervious surfaces and propose locations of any new structures, driveways. The new lots are not known. Therefore, compliance of the stormwater provisions of the city code in relation to the new lot will be deferred until development. Lot 2, block 1 must be met prior to issuance of a building permit for lot 2, block 1. I don't know which one's lot 2, block 1, to be honest. Is it? Thank you. Okay, the largest one, that would make sense. So then in section of our subdivision ordinance, section 10-3-5 requires a minimum of 23,000 square feet of land with a 3-foot separation between surface elevations on the lot that would be buildable. And it is unknown at this time where the home will be placed on that lot 2, block 1. So all those requirements will be needed to be done at the time of building or for permit to be done. Building permit shall be required for this new home and submittal of certificate. Any new utility lines installed on the property are required to be placed underground. The developer shall be responsible for securing necessary easements and for constructing all streets, utilities, trails, stormwaters, that's such. None of that is actually on this property. And then the subject property shall be platted in one phase. Prior to the release of final plat for recording, developer's agreement must be entered into an agreement with and includes, but not limited to the following: park dedication or other fee, wetland buffer, requirements prior to issuance of building permit, all required approvals from other governmental agencies, maintenance requirements during construction, financial guarantees, and other planning and engineering items as appropriate. The developer shall be responsible for obtaining and complying with all necessary permits other than governmental agencies. The developer shall incorporate the standards and procedures of the Minnesota Stormwater Manual for site restoration and erosion controls during construction process. Park dedication shall be paid payment in lieu of land dedication for the one lot created. Park dedication fees shall be paid prior to the release of the final plat for recording to the city. The approval of the preliminary plat shall terminate if the plat has not been applied for by a date that we set forth, unless an extension has been granted by the city council. Additional conditions are determined necessary by the city planner, engineer, or attorney as review of the project progresses as is completed. And the property owner is responsible for all costs associated with processing of this request.
Okay.
That covers all the recommendations under the finding impact.
There was 25 of them here recommended by our planner and our engineer. So Cindy, you want to add anything at this time?
Not at this time, but we do need to have a public hearing. We do need to have a public hearing.
Okay,
It's open.
okay, we'll open it up then. Has the planning and zoning got any questions they want to ask Cindy? Or planner? Seeing none, we'll open up for the public. Anybody out here have any questions or they have the answer and to ask? If they do, just step up to the mic and give your name and your address. Okay. No, what about our planning and zoning? Do we have any discussion? The question I have is, what's this additional lot gonna be onto that one up there in the corner?
That's somebody else's house.
Yeah, but how big is that addition? They're gonna add on to that lot, right?
No. Are you talking this one up in the left corner?
Up there in the corner.
Their current property is just under 5 acres. They're adding to it.
But they're adding on to it. right?
Yes.
But
Can you
how
show
much
them where
are
the
they-
lot line
How
is?
much are they adding on?
It's 0.4 acres and adding 5. So
Oh,
that's-
there we go.
Okay, that's the question I have.
Okay. Yeah, none of that's in here, but
Is there any other questions the planning and zoning have here? And the one that they had there before, it's been completely eliminated. They wanted to put 5 lots in there before and it's pretty expensive to have to put the roads in and stuff, so they changed to this plan they presented here now.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
it kind of states that the location of the house and driveway and that are unknown, but I just want to confirm the driveway is coming off 205th, correct? At some point? Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct.
there's no access out there now off that field, right?
Right.
Is there any more questions that the planning and zoning have? If not, again, I'm gonna ask the crowd out here if they have any things they'd like to present at this time. This is your opportunity. The last time they presented, there was a lot of questions. Mainly because of the road. So if there's no more, you got any more to add, Cindy?
I do not. I do not.
Okay. If we don't have anything else, we'll close the public hearing. Now we'll act upon it. Is there any further discussion we have as a planning and zoning on this? No,
Mr. Chair,
yes, Commissioner Hippo.
it seems like a pretty simple, straightforward plat now with the three. So I think you can approve it as it is.
Would you like to make this as a motion, including the finders of fact, finding facts?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve as written by the planner with the recommendations and findings of fact as written in this document. And I noticed there's a blank on line 23 for the date, so I don't know if the planner has the date that we need to put there.
Planner Nash, do we have to have a date, put it in there? I don't know if she hears me or not. You, acting administrator, Johnson, you know?
Are you able to hear me?
She can't hear it. No,
Can you hear me?
yes,
Okay, so the reason there's an empty date is because depending on when the city council makes an actual decision on it, that will dictate what that date is. So it'll be 90 days from when the city council approves the final plat.
Commissioner Hitler, you okay with it?
Yes, that should be good, okay,
Okay.
that's my motion.
Commissioner Hitler made the motion with the finding of facts to accept this. Do we have a second to this?
I'll make a second.
Commissioner Pearl made the second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think it was all ayes. Okay, and you'll be coming to the planning or the city council second Tuesday of next month in February with it. So we're only a recommending body. Okay, we'll open our next public hearing. This public hearing has to do with a preliminary plat and cut for A plus B addition. Planner Nash, do you have something to say to this?
Yes, thank you. So this is a 5-lot subdivision with the construction of a new road called 209th Avenue Northwest. They would also be dedicating right away for Basalt Street. They're also asking for a conditional use permit for a flag lot. That flag lot is because, if you recall, back when you saw this earlier as a concept plan, it was determined that they could move that cul-de-sac down as far as possible to shorten the length of the street itself. But that causes the need for the flag lot here. And that was the guidance that we had received when we spoke with Planning Commission in 2024. Other comments that we have, we'll want to see this remnant piece platted as an outlot. And then there are some various miscellaneous comments that both myself and the city engineer have on the plans. I guess the most significant one is that the ordinances require that there be a trail on one side of every street. But the comp plan does not have a trail on this section of Basalt. And neither myself or the city engineer thinks that there's a need for a trail to be located on 209th. So we have suggested that they apply for a variance related to the trail requirements. So if we could get feedback from you tonight on that aspect of it, it would be appreciated. Now, we did have an error that occurred with the public hearing notices that went out. So tonight, we'd like to take comments from anybody who did know about this and show up for the public hearing. But then have you table this, and we would take it up again next month, along with any revisions that they have to the plans. And that, and likely that variance application.
Do you think we have to go through the finding of facts now?
I didn't include a finding of facts in the packet for this one.
Okay. Okay, so your suggestion is that we table it until the February meeting.
I think if there's public there, we should take comments from the public that's there.
Okay, does anybody in the crowd would like to make comments to this proposed development? Pardon me, how? Bill, could you address that? Okay.
Hi, I'm Jordan Brown.
What was your name?
Jordan Brown.
Your address too?
I don't live in Nowthen, but I'm representing Bill and Al. This is their property.
Okay,
I'm just helping them with this project here, but the lots are all around 5 acres. The furthest lot to the north, lot number 4, that's 10 acres. Yeah,
the one lot is quite a bit bigger than that, isn't it?
yep, that one's got a lot of wetland.
Yeah.
Therefore it's gonna be bigger, just so. Bill is actually planning on gifting this to his grandkids, so they kind of want them to be equal in size, so.
Have you any questions for us then?
No, I'm just here for feedback, cause it sounds like I'll have the preliminary meeting next month. So just any feedback tonight would be great. And
Okay, I'm gonna ask Natalie here if all the mailings been mailed out.
They did, they had the wrong PID number on them originally. So when Cindy created the labels, it went to the wrong addresses, so then a second mailing was sent out right away, but the timing wasn't. So she wants to, because of the trail and a couple of the things that needed to be adjusted, that I believe we talked to one person.
Yep.
And then table it until next month, and then we'll be back.
the preliminary, the same, yep. Yep,
Okay.
make up for the time, so.
Has the crowd here got any, if you got any questions, we can ask Mr. Brown. When will it be started?
So the plan is for lot 1 to be built on right away, but as far as the other lots go, lot 1's the furthest south one. The other lots, it's gonna be, I guess, whenever they can afford to build on them. They're younger, so it could be, 5 years, 10 years, never. It's just basically a savings for them in a way, if they want to hold on to it or build on it. The what? The deer stand.
Could we have your name?
We'll try to build around it.
Could we have, sir, could we have your name and address, please?
Travis Gomer, 6538 213th Avenue.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who has any comments? You understand, Mr. Uelling, the problem we had here, things wasn't done the way they should have been, and so there's a little bit more of a holdup. Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown.
You guys.
Does anybody on the planning zoning have any questions to ask here? Seeing none, what we'll do is we'll have a motion to table this until the February meeting. Somebody like to make that motion? I'll make a motion that we table it until February. What would the date be on that, February? Twenty-fifth, February 25th.
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner B seconded. Chairman Ames made the motion. Do you have any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, table it? Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Looks like everybody is in favor, so it's coming here, our next planning and zoning meeting. Okay, our next one is our ordinance amendment for home occupation. Cindy, do you want to, I shouldn't say Cindy, say Planner Nash, you want to address this?
Thank you. Natalie and I are trying this a different way, so I hope you can hear me.
Okay, try again.
It's okay. Natalie and I are trying this through our phones now, so I hope you can hear me.
Here, not very low.
Okay,
Are they able to, Natalie?
well, kind of.
Kind of, okay. We will do our best then. So we are going to be going through different parts of the ordinances and proposing updates to them. You may recall that over a year ago, the home occupation ordinance became a topic when there was some people that were trying to do some leasing of land to others to do things on their land that was an occupation. And so there was a moratorium put in place at that time. And we didn't quite get around to working on that in 2024. But what I've brought to you tonight is a draft home occupation ordinance to insert basically instead of the one that you have right now, to try to cover that scenario along with other ones. And I'm going to walk you through what I'm proposing here. Some of the things are the same as what you have. Other things are different. But there's not a traditional red line here because it truly was, the red line version is too hard to read with the changes that I made. So I'll walk you through it. So, and stop me anytime if I need to stop and explain anything. The first, there's a purpose statement. It probably is not controversial. Second, there would still be permitted home occupations that people can do by right without getting any kind of a permit from the city. And then there'd be the extended home occupations that somebody would need to get an interim use permit from the city. I updated or proposed updating the conditions for the permitted home occupations to try to make them clearer that that the business needs to be located wholly on within the dwelling that's the homesteaded property of the business owner by a person that is a resident of the homesteaded dwelling. And that will help us to eliminate some of those issues that had come up previously regarding leasing of space. And same as before, the business for a permitted home occupation can't be located in an accessory structure or occupy a garage that's attached to the dwelling. Capped to the 25% maximum gross floor area, still are not allowing retail sales in a permitted home occupation. Still are not allowing them to have any employees other than a member of the household. So no other employees that do not live there can be there. I did add this part about for any part of the day in order to prevent a situation that I've had in other communities where contractors, for example, might store a bunch of vehicles there and then have employees come and pick up vehicles and they're coming and going. So to eliminate that thought that people are not working there, even if they're there for a few minutes, a half hour or whatever, added in that piece of it. And then added in some other just conditions about applying complying with Minnesota noise rules, that the, limitations on how much vehicle traffic can be generated by that permitted home occupation, that it can't require alterations to the exterior or change, change that it looks like a home, except that your ordinance has traditionally permitted a business sign. So I've made an exception for the sign that's permitted, which is in paragraph 8, not paragraph 9. So still permitting that same business sign you have allowed. Making sure that they design their septic system to accommodate whatever their home occupation is as well. Because there could be some home occupations that would need a modification to the septic system. That there's no outside storage or display of equipment. Leasing again is not permitted. And that the home occupation needs to comply with all county, state, and federal regulations. I'm going to stop here. I hope you all can hear me. I hope that you all can hear me. And
Yes,
I'm
we can
finding
hear.
out that I think that the lag is affecting the visuals too, because I was sharing the home occupation ordinance the whole time, but I just got a text that it's showing the A and B plat. So I'm hoping that will update soon for you. But I'm going to stop now. And if we can talk about any of the permitted home occupations, and then we can get into the extended ones second.
Ms. Nash, at this point, I
Yeah.
don't have any questions for the permitted home occupations.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Does any,
Yes, please.
Yeah, I do have, I guess, the North Shell had to occupy a garage attached to the dwelling. I just think there are a lot of small businesses where they're doing work in the garage, and I don't see why we'd have to exclude that if it's an attached garage. I mean, I don't see why. I think there's a lot of small businesses that kind of operate out of the garage, and I wouldn't want to have to move that to a permitted section, I guess. Or I would like that to be just in a permitted home occupation in the garage. Presuming it's attached, I guess.
so your current ordinance does not permit that to occur unless they were to get an interim use permit. I'm not saying you can't change that. I think it's a pretty typical thing though for a permitted home occupation to not allow somebody to use garages, because they frequently do turn into car repair shops and things that maybe are a little more intensive than what a lot of people think a permitted home occupation should be. So if somebody wanted to use their garage the way your ordinance is today, they would need to get an interim use permit.
I don't know if anyone else has any comments on that.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Hickel.
Yes, I'd comment on that too, I guess. So there might be some uses of a garage if we restrict it to non. That only the business owner can use the garage. You couldn't have somebody bring something there without an interim use permit. So for example, if someone had a little wood shop where they made small things in the garage, that seems like it should be permitted. Or that not actually, they're just selling them online or something, so there's not any traffic.
Right.
I don't know, that should be restricted.
Yeah, and I think, it covers it with, you can't have anything outside. So if you try and turn it into a mechanic shop, you end up with cars all over the place. That would not be permitted. So, but, I don't feel extremely strongly about that, but I also think it would be nearly impossible to enforce if they're doing a little thing in their garage that's attached to the house. So I don't know if that, but my guess is.
I don't disagree with you that it would be tough to enforce, but I will say that for permitted home occupations, we, a lot of times may not even know that they're there, right?
Right.
And we typically operate on a complaint basis if somebody's doing something, that maybe is a little more intrusive than what it should be. And if it was permitted and you're allowed to do something in your garage, it could get quite intrusive without needing a permit. Potentially. So we probably would never even know about most people who are using their garage for little aspects of their home occupation. But if somebody suddenly was using it to repair other people's cars or something, for example, that type of activity might generate a complaint. And then we could ask them, tell them, and we could inform them that they're not able to have it as a permitted home occupation, but that they need to apply for the interim use permit. And then work through conditions of how that might work so that they could potentially do what they want to do, but in a way that is not impactful upon the neighbors.
That sounds
But we
reasonable.
wouldn't. I'm sorry, what?
That sounds reasonable. Yeah,
I don't think we'd be going to look for people, is I guess what I'm saying. It's more when something has reached a point where it's generated a complaint, we have a way to address that.
Have we, any more questions on this?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, also I'm wondering how we would enforce item 2. Not more than 25% of the gross floor area. The previous ordinance did not have a specific percentage. So how did we come up with 25% as a number?
I think that was in another ordinance that I have, and the intention is that somebody shouldn't be converting their home completely into a business either. So similarly, that gives us the ability to do something if we needed to, if somebody were to do that.
An example would be, your typical 960 split would be about 270 square feet. That's 2 whole bedrooms that someone would be using as a business. They're trying to encourage that you don't use your entire basement for a home business. Is that you just use one room as your office business. That's what they're trying to encourage.
Seems like.
Right, and again, if you wanted to use more, you could ask for that as part of an interim use permit.
Seems like you could use more than 25% and not impede upon your neighbors at all.
That's
Depends
the whole
what kind of business it is.
But that's also part of the stipulation that if you are bothering your neighbors, then we have something to look at and go, hey, you're bothering your neighbors. Let's look at what you're really using for space. Can we whittle this down to make you a nuisance?
because for the most part, you probably could, some people could use up to 75% and no one would ever know.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But who's gonna, yes.
Right.
You gotta be turned
Yeah.
in for someone to physically
Yeah.
do this.
And when you think about it too, if a home occupation is accessory to somebody using a place as a home, the home should still be the primary use of the parcel, not the business.
Yes, that's what the previous one said, I think. It said the use of the dwelling unit for the home occupation shall be clearly incidental and subordinate to its residential use. That's hard to judge too, I guess, but that's what the old ordinance said. Yeah, maybe a percentage is easier to quantify than with clearly incidental and subordinate.
Right.
We could add some language, we could add some of that back in.
But Could it say not more than 25% or clearly incidental in some ordinance?
Mr. Chair. I like the original language actually better. We're kind of dancing around a percentage. And if it's clearly incidental, it's not gonna be. I mean, maybe that's why, right? I mean, are we gonna go, have somebody go measure every room to find out an actual percentage? I don't see us doing that. But
I'd prefer the original, yeah, for that one. If we just kept that one the same.
What do you say the original is? 25%?
No,
It's
I'm
item
kind of
2.
adding a note to make changes in. I will say that the language clearly incidental is one of those things that's in the eye of the beholder. And my opinion of clearly incidental might be different than 5 other people in the room. So that's why it's nice to have some backup language on not more than, so that there is a cutoff.
yeah, I mean, so if we could combine it like Commissioner Hopala mentioned, where we say not more than 25% or, you know, kind of going incidental with you know, the primary use being for the homestead, I'd be good with that.
Yeah, so I'm hoping you can see my screen. I'm apparently having issues sharing as well. But that's what I'm hoping to do here then, is to add back in some of that clearly incidental language. I don't have it right in front of me. So kind of a note to add that back in, but then leave the 25% as well to provide more definition to that.
It's on page 57 of the packet, item 2, the original language.
Yes, I agree. If you could come up with something along those terms, that should probably make everyone happy.
Okay. Move on to the extended home occupations.
That's a go.
Okay, so then the extended home occupations, as a reminder, those ones would need to obtain an interim use permit from the city council and be operated in compliance with the terms of what's ever in that interim use permit, along with any performance standards that are outlined in this section of the ordinance. So again, the business shall be located on the homesteaded property of the business owner. It can be maybe permitted within either the principal structure, but again, not exceeding that 25% of the gross floor space, or in an accessory structure. And I guess we could say, or an attached garage. The number and size of accessory structures shall not exceed those that are permitted in your accessory ordinance chapter of the zoning ordinance. Employees shall be limited to the members of the property owner's family who reside in the dwelling unit, and not more than 1 full-time or 2 part-time on-site employees who are not part of the family that reside on the property. If the extended home occupation is on property that's fully accessed by paved roads, up to 2 full-time or 4 part-time employees may be permitted. And again, that clarification that on-site employees include any employee or independent contractor who is on the property of the home occupation for any part of the day. The property, I put in here a suggestion, but we can change this. That the property on which the home extended business is located shall be at least 10 acres in size. But I think right now you're allowing them on smaller ones, so this is more of a discussion topic. All buildings used in conjunction with the home occupation need to meet the requirements of the state building code. And that would be for the type of use that it is. So if somebody were to have originally have built an accessory structure that's accessory to a residential building, that's a different code standard than if somebody was operating a cabinet shop, which is a commercial standard. And that applies today, even though it's not in the ordinance. My intent is just to make it clearer to people that state building code would require that to occur. A general thing that all on-site production, assembly, sales, and service be conducted within a building approved for the home extended occupation. Again, that's something that you might not want to have, so we should discuss that. All equipment and vehicles shall be stored within an enclosed structure. And then I put outdoor storage of equipment, supplies, or products is prohibited for interim use permits originally issued after, and the insert would be the date of the adoption of the ordinance, because I think you do have outside storage today. And we can take this out and allow outside storage in a different way if you want people to still have that in residential neighborhoods. But just a reminder that this applies across your entire community, including in platted residential neighborhoods that might not be anticipating that people would be running some, possibly pretty extensive businesses in their neighborhoods. Retail sales related to the home occupation is limited to minor products that are ancillary to home occupation service. This is the same language that you have at the current time. Landscape plan might be required that illustrates screening from adjacent public right-of-way and adjacent residential uses. On-site parking shall be provided. Again, adding in the Minnesota noise rules, some language about solid and liquid gas and other wastes. That they cannot be discharged into the soil, water, or air, et cetera. Provide evidence of a contract for removal of all solid waste. Needs to comply with Minnesota statute if the property is enrolled in the Elk Preserve program. The site must have access, shall be from a paved publicly accepted road, unless via a gravel publicly accepted road is approved by the city council and the fire chief. That's something new that I added that you don't have today, because you have quite a few shared driveways or driveway easements that would not meet fire code. And so when we're adding businesses off the ends of those, that can be problematic in terms of, again, meeting fire code and providing emergency service to those locations in the event something happened at any of those businesses. Same size of sign that you have today. Again, the sewage treatment system needs to be provided for the extended home occupation in accordance with the applicable state and local regulations. Comply with all applicable county, state, and federal regulations. If the site conditions would generate dust, to have a plan for appropriate control measures there. I included a suggested limit for how many business associated vehicles should be there. We can change that number if you'd like something else. That on-site hours of operation may be set by the city in the interim use permit. That no portion of the property may be leased to another person or entity for the operation of a business. But I excluded from that the following: the rental of space inside an accessory structure for the storage of boats, vehicles, or other personal property of persons or entities that don't live on the property, which shall receive an interim use permit for the operation of a storage business as an extended home occupation. If permitted under that part, it needs to be the storage of items that are routine. It should not include the storage of items that are routinely accessed in a business, including but not limited to construction materials, construction equipment, semi-trailers, et cetera. Basically not having somebody have the opportunity to use somebody's storage space, quote unquote, to routinely bring a semi trailer to and from, park it there, or anything else that might not be what would be intended of a sort of a storage space as opposed to where somebody's kind of operating a separate business from. Again, that the accessory structure use and size needs to match the zoning district for what it's in. Any additional conditions may be imposed by the city council to ensure the proposed use is compatible with surrounding land uses. And then I added in proposed exceptions to things that would not be classified as a home extended business and not required to obtain this interim use permit, but that they must comply with these provisions. And it's basically addressing those situations where you do sometimes have a property owner who, because of the nature of what their job is, might have a work vehicle on their site. And then a separate exemption for any on-site outdoor storage of ag equipment or vehicles associated with an active farming operation. Well, I'll stop there because that was pretty long. And I don't know if you want to go through them one by one or hit the ones that I called out for you, maybe that we probably want to discuss.
Ms. Nash,
Yes.
I'm finding a conflict with within myself for the number 3, the acreage.
Yep.
Because there are so many different size parcels, how can we put a limitation on such? And why?
Well, a lot of people will put a limitation on because if it's an interim use permit, one, it's probably something that's more intensive. I have seen it multiple ways. So I've seen it by acreage. I've seen some communities try to segregate out based upon whether something is in a platted residential neighborhood versus kind of a, just a meets and bounds where it's more. But I don't think you want it to be on somebody's property who only has like 2 acres as an example, or maybe you do. We can delete this completely, but then basically anybody and if we deleted it, anybody on any size property that has a home could apply for an interim use permit. And again, that might be fine.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Hippo.
Yes, I think that number 22 covers this problem because it says the accessory structures for home extended business shall not exceed zoning and district standards for the size of accessory structures permitted in the applicable zoning district and size of property. So the business will be limited to smaller size and if they're on a smaller lot due to the existing zoning limits.
Okay, so would you like to delete? I deleted number 3. Would you like that deleted then?
Yes. Oh, no,
Okay.
no. Number 3, definitely delete, but 22, I think, needs to
22 we
say.
keep- Yeah, we keep 22.
22, I deleted 3.
Yes.
Yep,
Mr.
I would
Chair.
agree.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree as well. And I think this is all about getting an IUP anyways. So a lot of the discussions on size of property and type of business would be handled in that discussion as well.
Would get reviewed at IOP issuance time too, yeah.
Agreed.
No reason to have a acreage limit at that point, or hard coded in.
That's where another question rises with number 14, with the fire chief, accessibility through the driveways and what. That is also addressed through this process. What, do we really need it written out for this?
No, it's not addressed through the process. So right now, if somebody lived on a very long shared driveway, there is nothing that would prohibit them from applying for their IUP And I don't know what we would use to say that they need to make improvements to it or deny the IUP.
Well, that's a risk on the owner and their business. Why should it be us to determine that they need to make improvements to their lot? If they can even.
Because well, for one, a lot of these shared driveways. So I'll give you an example that I actually have in a different location.
Okay.
I have a business somewhere that's on a easement. There's about 4 properties on the shared driveway easement. And someone opened up a winery and has music back there. And it's kind of acoustical, but it's not a large property either. And it's really close to its neighbors. And the traffic that's on this shared driveway that's maintained by everybody of those 4 people now has hundreds of cars going down it, as an example. Doesn't have the proper turnarounds, doesn't have, it's not an ideal situation, and yet that community ended up having to approve it because their ordinances didn't prohibit somebody to have to be accessed from a public road. So we get complaints frequently on that business that we have nothing we can do.
So on 14, it should say publicly accessible road, right? Not publicly accepted road.
No, publicly accepted, because at the same time, you have been platting right of ways within the community that are not publicly accepted or maintained. And
My
so
God.
you have they're publicly accessible, as you said, because they are platted and the public can travel on them, but they are not up to a typical city road standard, and they're not a city road because the city has not accepted them.
Miss Nash, this would be equal to my driveway. I have a platted public road. It doesn't have a road, maybe it does have a road name, but it's an extremely long driveway. And part of it is been granted to the city, but the city does not maintain it because it's not a development. And it's not an actual paved road yet. Probably never will be.
And I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with yours.
No, but it's exactly what you're saying. It's
It might be, can I pull it up on the map and we can just take a look at it quick? Just as a example.
yeah. What do you need?
What's your address? If you
75.
don't mind, so.
7500 205th Avenue, Northwest. I also have a flag lot. I'm just gonna throw it in there for fun.
So you're saying that that this
Oh,
is
it's a delay. Hold on, just give us a minute. There's a delay.
oh
There's a long skinny strip. And it is the dedicated future road. And it's like 80 feet wide. From,
that I know there's a delay. If it's, I don't know if you're seeing it yet.
Not
but if
yet.
It's but highlighted. It says that the owner is Anita Swanson. It's not the city, so it's not dedicated.
you're not on the right parcel. But it's not coming up on our end, but I know,
Yeah.
I know what my property has. There's a skinny, weird looking drive and approach. And it is dedicated.
Hey Cindy,
Yep.
can you address the city's liability for those as they sell and become public roads?
Okay, so I'm not loving your example because I know you probably aren't seeing what I'm seeing and I wish this was showing up in real time. I don't see where anything dedicated.
It's all in the verbiage of the parcel info.
So it's just easement, it's not a,
Right now, it is an easement that I cannot build on
okay.
for quite a ways.
Because what I'm seeing without looking at any language on yours, for example, I see a flag lot coming out to 205th, which is your public road.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't see this, that's what I see, and that's what I would know if something came in. In other cases, we've recorded an actual plat with a deferred paving kind of a thing for people, where the plat might have a road with a name on it, but it's acting as a shared driveway between multiple lots until some point in the future, whenever that might be, that something else might occur, and that's being allowed to be developed at a standard that's less than the city standard, but it would also be less than what would be allowed under fire code if you were having more than just a few houses on that thing, if you were having some business back there as well. So that's really what that's trying to get at, is that like I said, looking at yours, from what I can see, if you were to propose something, it would be coming off of 205th, because it looks like this is just your driveway.
It looks like a driveway, yeah, because the city doesn't maintain it. Because it's not 3 houses coming off of it yet.
Okay. I'm just saying it doesn't even look platted. It's not. If you hadn't told me that, I wouldn't know it was there, is I guess what I'm saying.
Okay. Got it.
Well, I think we get the idea, and yeah, basically a publicly accepted road, and unless access being gravel publicly accepted road is approved by the city. Okay. Yeah, but I
Seems like the nature of the business would affect what if this applies or not, though, so to get an IUP where there's not customers, maybe it's not as relevant.
so we could accept and grant an IUP even if it didn't fully meet some of these requirements, right?
You could, but then somebody should be asking for a variance as well, and then you'd make findings as to why that might be acceptable in that case.
Right.
Could we add some language to 14 to avoid the variance in the future?
Add some language to 14 to do what?
So we could avoid having people request a variance for something that's obvious at the time that a IUP is issued.
I guess it says unless access via gravel publicly accepted roads is approved by the city council and the fire chief, so that could be kind of that, right?
Right, they wouldn't need the variance then. What it would
Oh,
be
they would need the
preventing
variance,
though
okay.
is somebody doing something off of a shared driveway.
We move on to number 19, where there's a quantity of business vehicles associated.
Yep.
We can come back to that one maybe.
So for discussion purposes, I put 3 business vehicles in there, but we can put whatever you would want.
Is that stored outside or is that stored inside? Because there's talk about everything being stored inside, and then now you're gonna limit the number of vehicles, so I'm questioning it.
There is talk about it being stored inside. we could say that there's allowed up to 3 vehicles stored outside, or we could take that out then, I suppose. If you keep the part about everything being stored inside, to me, that was a topic that I thought you'd want to talk about, is whether they should all be stored, whether everything should be required to be stored inside and get rid of outside storage of items.
And that would be number 6. Correct?
Yes.
Maybe 6 and 19 could be merged together. Could allow some minimal number of vehicles outside. Like the other ordinance somewhere said you can have 1 vehicle and 1 trailer as an exception. Yeah, and also it could be, we could base it on parcel size, the number of vehicles. It might not make sense to have a lot of vehicles on a 2-acre parcel, and someone has 40 acres. Having the same limit doesn't seem to make sense.
So if this came up for an IUP and they wanted 5 vehicles, would that be variance, or would we just be able to accept that?
Well, if you require everything to be inside of a structure, then you wouldn't necessarily have to limit the number of vehicles if they're fitting everything in a structure.
Right.
If you aren't going to require that everything be within a structure, then I do suggest that you have a maximum number of vehicles that could be outside, because some of these get quite large quite fast.
Well, and I agree with combining 6 and 19, where we
Yes.
say that you know, all equipment and vehicles shall be stored within enclosed structure, and then maybe you can say up to 3 business associated vehicles can be outside. But let's say someone's got 15, 20 acres and they want to have 5. I mean, we could approve that in the IUP without a variance, right?
You mean if we had the 3 in there
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then wanted to give them 5?
right.
No, they would need a variance then, so we could
Yeah.
have it be something like, the interim use permit may, specify a certain number of vehicles that may be parked outside at
Based
the
on
discretion of
lots.
the city council.
That's probably better than limiting it or adding to the limit, I guess.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yep.
That would probably be a better solution.
So we strike 19 and we add verbiage in 6,
Yeah.
saying that vehicles could be parked outside based on approval. Yeah.
I like it.
And then each business could be reviewed for types of vehicles.
Yep.
Because there might be wide variance of heights.
So I tried adding that language. I hope you guys can see it.
I
Yep.
trust you.
Yep, we're seeing it.
Okay, good. How do you feel about the outdoor storage of other equipment, supplies, or products?
I
Would
think
you-
maybe at the IUP time, it could be approved the same way.
Yeah.
If they need it.
If it's needed and it's reasonable and it's maybe screened.
I mean, think about it. You got a construction company and they've got pallets and pallets of block and sod they're storing outside. Your neighbors, they don't want to see that.
No.
They, on a daily basis, they'd rather them have their own yard coming and going out of. I mean, that was the first example that came to my brain. So no offense, I'm just saying.
Mr. Chair, can
Yes.
I would like to concur with that, because what we get a lot of complaints about is what's visible to the neighbors.
Agreed.
They don't want to see all the big trucks.
Everyone's
and
idea of a clean
Yard
yard
is
is
very
very
different.
different.
Very, very different.
It is, and your existing ordinance has some language that that is trying to say that if somebody has outside storage, that counts towards their total accessory building space.
It does.
But that is horribly difficult to try to enforce. Especially over time, because what somebody's gonna be looking for, say, at your building inspection company, when someone comes in with a permit for a building, they're truly looking at accessory buildings. They're not gonna be looking at an aerial photo and counting out how much outdoor storage there is already and adding that to it. And it kind of shifts and moves, right? It doesn't get smaller, it tends to grow.
I think the outdoor storage could be limited at the IUP time and specified in a certain area. And they could have it fenced in so the neighbors wouldn't see it. And it would have to be approved fencing at the IUP time. So that it's gonna cover all these cases where it might be a problem. And it could also be not allowed at IUP time if it's the land doesn't permit such a place to be screened properly from the neighbors.
And, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
number 8 covers landscaping plans and screening. So that part's included, I think, so we're good there.
Yeah, so that could cover outdoor storage.
The one thing I'll say is that if we allow outdoor storage, then we're allowing outdoor storage. And not every location is going to have adequate screening from the neighbors. Because of topography and other issues, even if you fence it or do things like that.
Could we say outdoor storage only permitted if upon review by the city council?
It's like I said, if we allow it in the ordinance, it's hard to
Don't allow it.
it's hard to not allow it. It's hard to turn somebody down.
Don't allow it. Outdoor storage for a business, don't allow it. Unless they're in a commercial industrial area, then they can have their outdoor storage.
And the way I drafted this doesn't impact anybody who has a permit today that might include outdoor storage. So that's why I'm proposing that it's, for new interim use permits originally issued after a certain date. I'm not trying to cause harm to anybody who's already out there with this.
Could it harden someone whose interim use permit expires? And then they won't be able to do the same thing they were doing?
Well, that's why it's originally issued after a certain date.
Okay,
So if they were applying for an extension to their permit, because maybe theirs is about to expire,
or if they get it modified.
right, they could get it modified. Which again, might just be that they're modifying their termination date.
Anything else? We're good with that?
Yeah.
Good work.
No, looks good. Let's move on.
Any questions on 5? As one Fun and Ash brought up, I think. That might be different. I'm wondering what restricting sales or something, I don't know, it seems if somebody brought the thing outside to sell it to someone for some hour or something, it's in violation then, I don't know. If this is
What number are you on?
I'm not sure if it's too restrictive for some minor business being conducted.
Asking what number you're.
Number 5. I think you had said this was a new
I
one.
think you're overthinking it. I think you're overthinking it.
We don't want someone to complain about someone violating their permit and get it revoked. It violates this minorly.
I'm having a hard time hearing that part. Can you, maybe try explaining the concern again? Cause I just couldn't hear it.
This one is says all on-site production assembly sales service shall be conducted within a building approved for the extended home occupation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see there's some things that may be conducted outside reasonably, but I guess you want to avoid someone fixing cars outside. So,
Yeah.
so it's, but there's, seems like sales outside. I don't know, maybe, I guess you don't want someone having a car sales lot. So.
Right.
Well,
And I
we
think
have-
excuse me,
You
I was
don't
just gonna say,
Of anything outside, and then retail sales are supposed to be limited to minor products that are ancillary to the home occupation. And you've always had, retail sales you've had these examples in there, as an example, hair care products ancillary to a home beauty or hair care occupation.
I think, I mean, it's really just if somebody does complain, it allows us to look at it and use that, right? But if some of the stuff's outside and people aren't gonna complain, then we're not gonna worry about it.
Yeah, it probably does more good to have it in.
Yeah. Unless someone has other questions on that, I guess, under D for the termination expiration. My understanding is interim use permits are terminated or expire when a home is sold, correct? So would that be another condition?
We can certainly add that as another condition.
I thought that was one of the differentiators between a conditional use permit and an interim use permit.
Yep.
Isn't that by definition?
No, not the definition. So, well, a conditional kind of is. Conditional use permits run with the land and the home can be sold over and over.
Right.
Interim use permits are only terminated upon the conditions that you include within the interim use permit. So you'd have termination conditions in there. So we can, we should add, well, we have the date. So you typically will want to put a date so that you at least have the opportunity to review it and make sure that they're operating under their conditions and they haven't maybe outgrown the site or need some modified conditions maybe to keep operating.
But because the interim use permit doesn't apply to the land, wouldn't the sale of the property terminate it automatically?
Not necessarily.
So we should state that then.
Well,
Yep.
Originally, that's the way it was supposed to be done.
Right.
The interim went with the owner,
Right.
and when the owner changed, it's all done.
Yeah.
That was
That was
why
my
that
understanding.
was why it was done.
And that's why we started doing interim use permits.
That's why we started.
So, yeah, okay.
That goes back beyond many years. That was the way it was supposed to be. Because we've got a few really raunchy things going on in the city. We got one area, it's got 100 vehicles parked in one spot.
Has a what?
Permits. So,
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
That's a
this
lot
is
of
a
big-
public hearing, correct?
Yes.
We want to take input, I guess. Are we ready to do that or?
Does you want to finish this before
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, do we, yeah,
we should go ahead and finish what you're on
Right.
there?
I had one question, Mr. Chair, about, number 12.
Okay.
Just, I think it's new for new language. I'm just wondering if that's not determined on the IUP as well. Depending on the business, what solid waste is gonna be needed, a licensed contractor to move. If it's a bunch of cardboard, we've got a recycling center, I guess is what I'm thinking. But I'm not sure what the intention is on number 12.
We can take that out if you'd want.
Yeah. Well, no, so septic was on a different section. I was thinking, okay, removal of all solid waste, like,
We can remove that. You can, depending on the type of business, you could just add that as a condition.
I think
Okay.
If you felt like it
11
was necessary.
11 covers it too, so. Says they have to be approved method.
yeah, okay,
I think 11 is sufficient.
all right.
Do we have an exception for a family business? If it transfers from one family member to another? Or like
So you wouldn't if, with the termination clause related to sale of the property, if you had a business and you were selling your property to your child, they would need to get a new permit.
so they would have to close the business if they couldn't get the permit, because it wouldn't be original anymore. So potentially it could shut down someone's family business that's transferring generations.
well,
This one up here. So under the theory that if you have a home occupation, it's an interim use permit, and if the property's sold, then that permit goes away. That would apply as well if it's a family. Now, they could certainly apply for an extension and to put it in their name instead.
Okay, so the family could extend it even if it's not the original issued to them.
Maybe.
They have exception.
Anybody can extend it. So we can't treat people who are family different from anybody else.
Okay,
So if the condition is specific that, you know, that it terminates if the property is being sold, that includes if it's being sold to somebody that's in the same family.
so there's no lawful exception for family transfer? You'd have
Nope.
to, you have to allow any transfer then if we did that?
Under either situation, transfers within a family or to a new owner, they would have to meet all the conditions of the ordinance at that time that they're asking for the new permit for themselves.
Mr. Chair,
Because again, we can't treat family different than anybody else.
it's if you treat one way, you have to treat everybody that way.
May I ask for some clarification on section 5, repealer? It's a lot of words that don't make sense to me.
On which one?
Section 5, the repealer.
Oh, sorry, let me pull that open.
My concern is that it's terminating some people's IUPs based on that language, so.
It's not, nothing in the ordinances. What that's repealing is that if you have any parts of prior ordinances that are inconsistent with this ordinance, then those are deemed repealed.
Oh.
So it's not,
Okay,
It's not repealing anybody's interim use permits. It's
Okay.
standard language that we have on ordinances.
I just wanted clarification on that.
Yep.
So when does that, is there a summary of things being repealed by it?
No, because we don't know what they are.
Or does that just take effect if someone challenges a different ordinance?
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that takes effect if I, let's say that somewhere else in your ordinance, there's something that refers back to it that is inconsistent, this takes priority then. You know, that maybe we didn't know about or catch because maybe it's in an odd spot or something.
Okay, and I had a question here. We had 10 acres referred to again on C2 on page 52, or wait, no, 55. No, it was actually not.
We were gonna
Okay.
go back to that.
Oh, yeah, the second paragraph on 55.
Not C2, C24.
So we deleted in section C,
C3.
and I think that's the only one that has it.
C3, well, 24 has it too under exceptions.
E number 24, letter
It's
A.
referring to the 10 acre limit and on those less than 10 acres, more than 10 acres.
Yep, so that is, it's under the exceptions. So if somebody had a small, I'm gonna go with a smaller parcel versus a larger parcel. They have, and we can talk about the acres then afterwards. If they have a, just trying to be clear that certain things are not do not need to get an interim use permit. So on a smaller parcel, if a property owner who parks or stores one vehicle for any business use and one trailer with associated equipment parked on the trailer, either indoors or outdoors, provided it isn't used for transporting hazardous, flammable, or biological materials, may be permitted in all zoning districts, except for lots less than 10 acres in size. And then on lots, so that would be on lots, anything that's bigger than 10 acres. So that would be a larger one. I'm sorry, I kind of mixed those up. Then if you have less than 10 acres, you can have something else that's smaller, basically, and not with a tonnage limit, et cetera.
Is this referring to somebody that says they're an employee to, let's say, a plumbing company, and they drive home a vehicle from a different company and
Yep.
they just park there? That's just what this is
Yes.
getting at.
Yes, or it could be on the larger ones, it could be the solo operator of a tractor trailer that
Okay,
he might store on his property.
It seems like it restricts someone with the front of their tractor of their tractor trailer from storing at their house if they have less than 10 acres indoors. Seems like if they have a building big enough to put it in, they should be able to do that, even if it's less than 10 acres. So I would propose striking either indoors or from that, and allow them to store it indoors. Just restrict it from being stored outdoors.
So, trying to think how to change it.
I think what I'm gathering is that he's saying that if it's a parcel that's small and you have a large tractor trailer, if it's being parked indoors, we don't need to have a size connected to it.
Yes. So I think that's what it's getting. So if you put your tractor trailer indoors. It seems like that should be permitted
Regardless of.
regardless of
property
lot
size.
size. Yeah.
Regardless of its tonnage.
Okay.
Is that-
Only thing you can run into there is you're over your requirement on your lot of your building. You only have so many square feet.
Right,
That's the problem.
Yeah, and that could run you.
And that's going to inhibit them from either being able to park indoors or outdoors. So that's
Right.
that's where this is gonna take precedence. If they can't park it indoors, then they have to have a completely different situation.
I think we're covered there.
You can create a problem before you get rid of one sometimes. You gotta be very, very careful about that.
I think the zoning ordinance already restricts that, so.
right.
I'm sorry, the zoning already restricts what?
Restricts the building size, so if they can't put a building big enough to store their tractor trailer, then it's already restricted for small properties, so.
Sure.
I believe, if I recall, that we enlarged that requirement and the size of the
Sure.
buildings so that people could store those tractor trailers and stuff inside so people wouldn't have to look at it. That's quite a few years ago. Well, I'm talking, I bet you over 20 years ago that happened.
And if that's what they're using it for, great. If it's filled with other stuff and they end up parking outside, then this would cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That acreage requirement is kind of it catches things and yet it's a hang on. Not all things come out good at it. Oh, we got fitful meetings over that size of. Oh.
Is there anything else that we want?
Would you like to delete all of this then?
I think we can still restrict outdoors only. For that case.
That's an exception, you mean, this is an exception. So you
This
want
is
it
in the
to-
exceptions.
You want it to say indoor, not outdoor, is what you're saying.
Whatever way it needs to be written to say it's indoors, I guess, that's what we need. It sounds like, from what Harold said, they previously put this in the ordinance to allow truckers to park their trucks at home in whole buildings. So we shouldn't remove that and suddenly make a bunch of people in violation. Or require.
Well,
or
and,
else-
and this does say less than 10 acres, right? So it's
Yeah,
likely 5 acre lots that we're saying it's gotta be.
indoors.
If you've got a 5 acre lot, it should be indoors, you know. 10 acres, you're good.
Unless you have. Like. it's
Yeah, yeah.
in
Right.
Yeah, so it's required to be indoors, less than 10 acres. That sounds good.
Basically just striking.
You agree with that, Cindy?
I wasn't able to hear all that, I'm sorry.
You can hear.
That's very loud.
So I think,
So what we're saying is just striking outdoors, right? Is that all we need to do in that paragraph? Is,
Or outdoors.
yeah, so it's just indoors. Am I reading that right?
Yes.
oh, it says something about 40 feet, so that would be strict trucks. but
Well, that's how I'm wondering, do you maybe
think-
want to?
Oh, so we could remove that restriction altogether.
Yeah, I think we can
So-
remove it. If we can remove the feet restriction if we put it indoors, and then we could allow, well, I guess this one allows. We should allow them to park their small vehicle outdoors, so I don't know, we gotta probably make sure it's worded properly, so it doesn't block you from parking your plumbing truck outside on a small property or something.
Well, I guess this does that then, right? So a small vehicle can be either indoors or outdoors. Large vehicle would have to be indoors. And then it wouldn't be. Yep. Yeah,
Did you get that, Cindy?
No, not exactly.
I think we should come back to, can we revisit this next month, number 24? There's a lot of questionable wording in A that I think we all just need to kind of strum through.
Yeah, we can, come back to it next month, yeah.
I think we should. That's
I just
the
don't know
one.
how to, I don't know what to work on it in the meantime is my
I
issue to
don't-
try to come up with something.
maybe we can
better.
discuss it next month, right?
I think we should come back to it. Let us all think about that a little bit more and
Okay,
figure it out.
okay.
You wanna finish what we've got before us here? Information, expiration of that.
We've already done that one.
Huh?
We already did that.
We talked about that a little bit, I
Okay,
guess. I don't know that there's.
So in other words, everything's been covered, then if you come back next month, we can discuss it more.
It has, but is there anybody from the public there that wanted to discuss this tonight or for the public hearing?
Okay, who will ask?
No,
Okay,
Nobody wants.
let's see if anybody's sitting there.
there are, but they're shaking their head no.
Okay,
You want us to table this till next month?
We can make the changes that we have already made, but number 24, A and B, I think we just need to revisit. Anybody object to that?
So we should table it, in other words.
Yeah.
So you're moving to table it with the changes we made to the previous set.
Sure.
Okay.
I make a motion to make the changes we've already discussed, but let's table it because we need to rediscuss number 24 and what it needs to say.
You're gonna have to add the date to.
February 25th.
Oh, to next meetings, it's February 25th. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Carlson seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes, do we continue the public hearing too then?
Yes, this be continued.
Okay. Does that have to be in the motion?
It is in the motion.
That is a continuation of this public hearing.
Okay. We're tabling it.
Okay, more discussion. Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Looks like a majority. Okay. I hope you heard everything she was saying. It was kind of hard to hear what kind of Nash was saying, but I don't know, I had a little trouble hearing it.
We can't hear you.
Okay, can't hear it.
Can't hear you.
Is that right? I'm talking about it.
No.
It's on, it's on. Okay, we'll go to our next item we have here on the agenda. Is there any unfinished business that we need to deal with?
there is not.
There's not, okay. And is there any new business?
The new business is the review of your 2025 draft policy
Okay,
of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
you want us to do, continue working on that at the next meeting? Or you don't want to start anything this meeting, right?
Well, it'd be 4-9, we could, but
We got 25 minutes, but do you want to start on it or do we wait till the next meeting?
and there are quite a few changes, so.
They're quite simple. She's simplifying a lot of stuff. I think we could hash this out.
Okay,
I really do.
Yeah, and truthfully, the 9 o'clock thing is something that's in here I want to talk about.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay,
Okay.
I can hear what she said, but go ahead.
So I will try to go through it kind of quick. I have the red line version of it on the screen, and I'm hoping you can see that. Is that what's showing, Natalie?
No, it is not.
It's taking time.
I don't know. It's,
Little piece.
you know, we just have trouble with the internet. I don't know. We can see you just fine.
Don't want you to see me.
There you go.
There.
Okay, so, really simple changes, I think. Some of them are just clarifications. For example, section 7, for any meeting to be called to order, a quorum. The language was funny before, was 1 over half, so I just changed it to over 1/2. Section 8, meetings and the open meeting law. I added some clarifying language because the language that you had before talks a lot about simultaneous communication, but open meeting law is broader than that. And truly your communications that are even serial communications with each other could potentially constitute an open meeting law violation, or things like site visits, emails, telephone calls where one person calls another. All of those things can get you into a little bit of difficulty with the open meeting law. So trying to refer to it more generally and not talk about the simultaneous nature, because it's not all simultaneous. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay,
So moving on, I proposed some changes to the order of the agenda, I guess. Just to reflect more what I've been putting on your agendas for what things are in there. And like, instead of old business, I put unfinished business. Because typically you're not going to really have old business per se. That's something that's kind of coming and going and coming back again months later. Moving on, again, just some clarifications here. This one,
Miss Nash,
yes,
under letter A, all those bullet points 1 through 9. Yes, changing
Yep.
7 is fine. I believe we still can leave 3 in there, because if we have a room full of people where there's some policy that we read out.
okay,
That would be fine. It just helps the person in charge to remember to do these things in order.
I have a
Okay.
question, I have a question too.
Yeah,
How come you got down to approve the agenda, but how come you don't approve or amend? We always have to give an opportunity for amending.
so keeping approve and amend allows us to add things to the discussion if someone brings it up at the door, or if something was misspelt or mistyped in the minutes, we can amend it and then approve it.
okay,
So that's why we've had it this way. And it
okay.
just works.
Yep, I'll make those changes back.
Moving
I'm
on
not
to
sure what
D.
the meeting policy agenda item is though, so I'll have to have staff help me find that.
Mhm.
Okay, because I haven't had that in there at all. And then, so
Cindy,
moving down,
Cindy,
yep.
can I ask a question quick? On the amend, we amending it to just no new business? So anything that you want to amend has to do with the business that's on the agenda?
Well, let's say we're changing the order. That's an amendment.
Yeah, changing the order.
That would
It's
be an
not just
amendment.
No new business, so, right? So
Or-
somebody can't come in and start talking about something, a different project without.
That would be under new business, but that would be an amendment to the new business conversation. If someone brought something in from the public and said, I want to talk about this road, they can stand up and ask that. That would be under new business.
Cause I was gonna, until I know she was changing all this, I was gonna bring some amendment in saying that we had to review this every year, which we haven't been doing. And also, with this, we're asking the people to sign a statement if they've read it and they're familiar with it.
Yeah.
And this is some things that we've done some in the past and sometimes we haven't. But I think it should be that we're very familiar with what the code is and what the policy is. And I was gonna put that on the agenda tonight for discussion only, so we'd be dealing with next term or next month. And I didn't realize she was already working on changing this. In fact, as we look at this, when Frank Boyles were here the last time, it was in 2020, we did change. And so now we're making a lot more changes here, which some of them are good.
So under new business would be if someone wanted to come in and say, hey, I'd like to talk about this. Can you add it to your amendment, your agenda? That's when we could add it. We could add it behind anything.
They took that away. We used to be able to do that,
Yeah.
floor items, but
That's,
I'm just gonna say that's not fair to your subcontractors. If they're not prepped for something, to
that's,
talk about something,
I know.
another project or something else that was going on. It's just not fair to your subcontractors because you kind of blindside them if they don't have the documentation or the ability to quick log it up.
but the whole point is to,
Bring it
Someone-
up and bring it up and
yes.
have it looked into,
Yes.
but not
Yeah,
discuss and
you
make
know,
a decision.
well, you know, you can, according to the way I read the ordinance, you can bring it up and have a little discussion on it. You can't vote on it or anything.
and then the next month we bring it back to an
And then,
actual agenda
yeah, yes.
with proper information.
Does that
The
work
hard
for you?
part, well, the hard part too, though, is if you had somebody who wants to talk to you about a proposed project they want to have and say, feel you out for what you want to do, you really shouldn't be talking about that because
That's right.
it's, you act as a quasi judicial manner and you need to be able to make, have all the information about an application in front of you before you're giving them, you shouldn't be giving them advice on how you would vote, if that makes sense. And that's what people would typically want to be on a planning commission agenda for, is to try to figure out what you would do before they go to the work of making that application. No different. So when I say quasi judicial, I was talking with Natalie about this the other day, and I used this example that you're acting like a judge when somebody brings you an application. And so no different than if you were given a drunk driving violation, right? And you had to appear before a judge. You want to be able to state your case, all the facts, and so did the opposing side before you make your decision. So if you're talking about projects before they're projects, because somebody asked you to put something on the agenda, it's not really the right place. And in fact, part of your policies say you can't do that it just needs to be referred to staff anyways. And that's always been part of these policies. So I'm trying to figure out what would get added typically. That's coming from the public anyways. I'm not disagreeing that you can't obviously add new business. I'm just questioning. It typically doesn't happen very often.
Could someone add public comments that's not related to a specific thing?
Sure, you could, but you could, it's just, is it is the planning commission the right place, or should they have gone to the city council, et cetera, et cetera? You can, if you want somebody to come in and talk about the need for a roundabout at a certain location, they can certainly, I suppose we can add them to the agenda and they can talk to you. But
That would be
I don't know.
very time consuming to do that. It'd take a lot of time. and you'd have a lot of people, a lot of discussion.
And then we come into issues with that 9 o'clock timeframe that's in this policy already that, you know, we're already butting up against that tonight.
9:15, we can't start any other discussion on any other item after 9:15. You can continue on the one you're on.
I know, it's that item I wanted to talk to you guys about, because if we have an agenda where we have multiple applications, we can't kick somebody back to the next meeting.
Well, that's true. If it's a public hearing or something like that, that's right.
Those have to be done.
Anything that has to do with the ordinances.
It has to do with, you know, the new business and the unfinished business.
Okay,
That we know that public hearings have to be taking place, no
Okay.
matter how long they go. That is part of, or I thought it was part of this.
Yeah. And if you list the time, the public hearing is supposed to be, you gotta do it at that time.
Yes. Okay, anyways. So we're on letter D. In number 10.
yep. Yeah, so I changed formal action to just motion of the planning commission. Shall be embodied in a vote duly entered within the meeting minutes. It just seemed like the rest of it was just extra wordy.
Yeah.
Plus not all, the way it's written, it kind of implied that everything needed to be accompanied by written findings of fact. And a lot of things, well, I know we do those for development things, but you know, if we were passing a motion on that ordinance tonight, for example, we wouldn't have this written findings of fact to go with it. So just trying to simplify that a little bit. And then, I have to see what my note was on the side. The, you do have the, does not involve a land use application or public hearing can't be taken up after 9:15. But I just want to caution that when your meetings start at 7, there's some items we just may never get to and keep kicking down the road for months if you have a lot of discussion or a lot of public hearing. You know, we may never get to new business if we have this kind of policy that it shall not be taken up.
It says unless agreed by a majority vote, so you could take it up if it's been kicked down the road by voting.
It's very rare that this comes up. We're
Yeah.
normally done by now. So
Okay,
this is a rare, very rare moment.
okay.
Yeah, so if we've solved,
Let's keep it.
That one?
Yeah, we'd be fine with keeping it just because it helps move it along. It helps us move along. Get through everything. Kind of puts a deadline on it and says, hey, hurry up. Put dragging your feet.
Okay,
we could continue
Um,
past 9:15 if we vote, if we
Yeah.
vote to.
Yeah.
if what?
That's for new items.
Yeah, if it's for new items, you can also vote to continue. If it's not an application or public hearing, it may be taken up upon a majority vote also. So that would
Okay,
allow us to continue if we thought it was important to do it and not kick it down the road anymore.
okay, it's, I think we're gonna probably do, based on some council direction, we may be doing a fair amount of ordinance revisions. And I'm just concerned that it's gonna be hard for us to get to those, to be honest. If we're not starting meetings till 7 o'clock and if we are trying to end at about 9 o'clock. I would love to as well, don't get me wrong, but
I think you're misunderstanding it. We just don't want to start a new topic after 9:15 if we can at all help it, just to keep it not from being so long.
okay,
If we're already on a topic, we're gonna obviously try to finish it. It's a matter of not starting one at 9:30.
sure, okay. I'll just keep going then. This deadlines one, I like the deadline. I'd like to add in that, an option for staff to make an exception to the deadline and that hard agenda. Mostly because if there's something that comes in time to advertise and it's small, or maybe it's a concept plan or something that doesn't need to be advertised. If we already have an agenda and a meeting that month, it'd be nice to just add something if we're able to,
Okay.
but sort of at our discretion.
Sounds good.
And then, I had proposed that we remove the statement about development signs shall be erected at the same time. Because especially in winter conditions, it can be tough for staff to put the development signs in the ground. So they could maybe need additional time, but it also just takes staff time, and staff time has been pretty limited. So we'd like to not make it a requirement to even get those up. Because somebody could point to your policies and say, we did something wrong.
Will we still put the signs up if we can? Is that?
We still want the signs to go up because it gives the public more notice than what we could possibly do as a body here.
I don't disagree. I'm just commenting that when there's requirements that we get all this stuff out exactly at a certain time, it puts burdens on the staff
This
that
doesn't.
are not in the ordinance, but now become an issue that we maybe didn't follow exactly correctly.
So we just need to remove, that it's gotta be done at the same time. So basically, we still want the development site signs to be erected. But, I mean, as soon as possible, not exact same time.
That's what they make cement blocks for.
Natalie, do you have any comment?
Just that I know it's been tough sometimes for the guys to get out. Not particularly this year, because we haven't had a lot of snow. But in previous years, when we've had a lot of snow, it's been difficult to get those out.
We understand.
Could we add weather permitting onto that?
Maybe instead of it at the same time, more like weather permitting, yeah.
Right, and what we were trying to do is prevent someone from coming back and saying, oh, the sign didn't go up at the same time, so.
Well, that's why we should take
we
that
can't-
out at the
yeah.
same time.
But,
The sign is good for letting everybody know. It's amazing how that really is a word of mouth.
Commissioner Jordan brought up, he brought up a good point too.
Gotta speak.
He brought up the point that we could, use cement blocks too if we have problems getting the signs.
And they do,
They do,
they do.
okay. Because the signs do help. When I seen them up here, I realized what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, just say the development signs shall be erected as soon as reasonable or something like that.
In a timely manner. What?
Ramsey's using their trees for that.
Okay.
Again, I dislike words like in a timely manner, et cetera, because it's just all kind of up to whoever's interpretation that is.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make it so that something that is a nice to have, and we might definitely want to strive for, becomes a requirement. Because sometimes things happen and then, somebody could point to that and say we didn't do it right and cause a lot of legal issues for the city.
So you're saying that you want to remove the signs on this notification in all? To take that
I
away?
would like to remove them and have staff still do them if they're able to, but not have it be something somebody can point to.
Not have it be a requirement.
Right. But do we run into the risk of someone, if the sign doesn't get out?
Yeah.
Someone saying you put the sign for that development, but not for this one, were you
Yeah.
trying to not publicize it?
Right.
So
Yeah,
you kind of have that other side of it too.
I see.
I see that for sure. At the same time, there might be a lot going on. It might be, between the snow plowing and everything else. But I think we have to somehow, we either do the signs or we don't do them. I don't think you can do the signs on some, and then just say we never got to that one,
Yeah,
because then someone's gonna say, why not?
and I believe the signs are a great
Yeah,
conversation for people to have questions.
Yeah.
It initiates emails. I know it's a pain in the butt, but it initiates things to happen and it gets the public involved, which is great.
yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, we want the public involved.
So, but I'm okay with saying, not saying at the same time. I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to be flexible on that.
So on the draft, I hope you can see it. I changed it to development site signs shall be erected, weather and staff time permitting.
That works.
Yeah,
I'm good
Okay.
with that.
yep,
And then hopefully nobody can complain if they don't go up early enough or anything like that.
right,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Letter-
Agenda, the next one that's titled Agenda Additions during regular meetings. I'll take this, I'll put the removed back in.
Okay.
I wasn't convinced that the statement that you have that additional agenda items may be discussed, but no action may be taken if any member objects, because I think that if you add an item to an agenda, now you can take action. But I don't think somebody can say I'm one vote and I object to taking action. Does that make sense? If you added it to the agenda?
Maybe this applies to late additions.
I would think this would be something that's discussed from somebody bringing it in a topic at the moment. That's what this would cover. We don't have to take action on it, but we can definitely hear your side. Thank you, and we'll look into it.
No, but the way your policy is read, if you add an additional item, it can be discussed. But if any one member objects, then no action can be taken. And I don't think that should be, there could be reasons where we're adding something to agenda that something needs to be addressed. It shouldn't, and then a vote should be taken, but it shouldn't be if one person's just objecting that you can't do it.
Okay, so.
Yeah,
how do we
I'm
word
okay.
that?
Agenda should be able to be acted upon.
If we can. Yeah,
Some might not be,
Where you shouldn't.
right.
some might not be illegal to be able to act upon, so.
So how do we say that then?
So that's where I just wanted to take this sentence out here, that the additional agenda items may be discussed, but no action may be taken
Okay.
if any member objects, because it shouldn't be, no one person should be able to veto
Okay.
something that's added.
Okay.
And the next paragraph covers any things that require staff review or anything
Yep,
like that, so we're covered there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right. It's actually saying that we shouldn't be adding anything to the agenda that requires staff review.
right.
So I think that covers it. I can't think of anything offhand, but there occasionally are items that we would maybe add late that just might actually need to be, something that has some recommendation from the planning commission coming out of that meeting.
Yeah.
So I just didn't want to have the ability for one person to veto
Okay.
action. And then delivery of agenda packets to members. So we've had at least 6 calendar days. We'd like to change that to not later than the Friday before the meeting. We'll certainly strive for something better than that, but it's been very difficult for us to be able to make at least 6 calendar days ahead of time.
That makes it difficult for site visits sometimes. If it's that close.
It's a week before. It's Thursday. 6 calendar days is Thursday.
Yes,
6 calendar days is Wednesday.
yeah, and we were getting them on Wednesdays before.
Would it be possible to get partial packets so we could do site visits before if there's more things added?
More stuff will get lost in translation. Don't dare. I'm gonna tell you right now, don't do that. I veto that idea.
Yeah, we would like to get them out early, don't get me wrong. It's just on agendas where there is a lot of stuff and there's a lot of other people reviewing.
Who on the,
It's really
who on the
hard.
committee has complained that they haven't gotten it by Wednesday? And if it's come out on Thursday or Friday? Really? Honey, you need to get a hobby. My God.
My harm is
If it's
defining joint.
Till Friday, I guess I'm not gonna be mad, but I need
But
it
it's
by then.
like it, Commissioner Haslip brought out here, that, sometimes you go out on the sites,
Yes.
to
I'd like
look
time
at
to
it.
do So, yes.
Cause I've been out there with Lars, I've been out with a few others, so. I guess it wouldn't, there's nothing wrong with having it up on Friday, but it does put you,
The reason we use calendar days is so that if we ever had to move our meetings, that whatever.
We'll change that to 4 days.
I assume it's easier to get the electronic copies out than making all the copies.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can usually get the electronic packet as soon as we have everything. We can put it together pretty quickly.
Right.
It's the copying for everybody.
Yeah, so I mean,
we've been getting them just about the same time. Just a
Roughly.
hair.
Right.
just-
Usually.
It'd be the same day, the same day we get it.
right.
So, the idea of the parcel packets, I don't want to create a burden on staff.
No, that,
Um, I'm gonna show you something though, that I use in another location.
How about
Um,
public hearings since they're already noticed to the public? But we
So
don't,
what we do in Hanover, for example, can you see the screen?
oh,
It's
No,
still
I
on
can't
our
tell yet, is it?
ordinance,
So we do public project pages. So we, on the website there, we put up for any new projects that are going on. Kind of description of what the project is, but we also have the plans and stuff as links. So people can look at them.
Okay, what did you
Um,
call it? A public package?
No.
No, public, just a project page.
Topic, okay.
And we keep it on their website so that people can go and see, what's going on and look at plans. They can download plans themselves to look at if they're interested. If we did something, I don't think we're doing that now. Then if we did something like that though, then when you guys find out that there is the public hearing notice some number of weeks before, you could grab the plan set off of the public project page and have more time to, take a look at the site if you would like to do a site visit.
And Cindy, that would be doable. We do have the new website that should be up and running hopefully in about 8 weeks. And then
Okay.
it will be mobile friendly. So that'll be much better.
Nice.
We could do that.
will we be notified when something changes there?
Yeah, I can have her send something. If you like the Facebook page and then you go to the website, the new website will send you out a little link that says something's been updated.
That's perfect.
Some people don't have Facebook.
Okay, sorry to kind of
MySpace.
segue there, but the thought of trying to figure out some way to get information out to you earlier so you could look at things earlier, that might be a way to do it. Again, without staff having to do extra packets or anything.
And that is fine. I think that's great
Yep.
a great idea, even for the public in general. I like it. Go.
Right, 'cause we use it as a method, that people can get a quick look and see if they even care about something, to be honest.
Agreed. Thank you. Yes.
I could deal with the packets Friday if we knew about the other stuff ahead of time. Might require a site visit.
Yeah, so then, okay, moving on to section 13. I suggested that we So you have this thing that these meetings need to be conducted in accordance with the Minnesota Mayor's Rules of Order, which I've included in the packet for you too.
Mhm.
We can't really change those rules of order, but I suggested just at least adding in the word generally, because we're not following that either. For example, the mayor's rules of order don't say anybody needs to second anything. It's just gone on a motion, no second.
Oh.
But I'm sure there's many other things that
Yeah.
no cities are doing, to be
Okay.
honest.
Okay.
So just adding that word generally in there, I think it's okay for a lot of things, like helping to format what motions might look like and all that. So it's good info, but again, didn't want to say that we're going to be doing it that way, and then we're not actually doing it that way.
In other words, in other words, you're saying we shouldn't have seconds to motions?
No, that's not what she's saying.
No.
That's not what she's saying at all. Moving on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I misunderstood.
Yes, I know. It's okay. She is saying that in the mayor's
Yes.
handbook or whatever it's
Yeah.
called, they don't require a second
Right.
to a motion. We do it in our
Yes.
meetings. So we're generally following the rules.
Okay, or adding generally to the statement.
Yeah, getting a little
So in
vague.
80 seconds. Okay.
Intention.
Mhm.
And then under public hearings, I propose to strike this, that you'll do a public hearing when it's required by city policy. I don't know what policy that would be, but it should be in an ordinance anyways, if you're going to require a public hearing. And then I also struck the whole second part of this, that you guys can elect to conduct a public hearing if you determine that it's advisable due to the unique nature of the matter. Because if I don't know how, if something doesn't require a public hearing and somebody has a land use application that for some reason didn't require one, how you can cause them to have a public hearing, potentially end up denying them.
Okay.
And it could use that as a basis for, you know, that you didn't follow some sort of procedural due process that they should have had. Because their action maybe didn't need a public hearing.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay, and then, I think I just reworded some stuff in there.
Yeah.
Under the part about conduct of persons before the planning and zoning commission, there's some kind of standard stuff. And then it says the chairperson or of the P and Z may impose additional limits or rules upon members of the public as permitted by section 16. And I think 16 follows down to what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't anything extra that they could do to the public. So I took that out as not being, you know, necessarily necessary.
66, item 4 on page 66. It does have to do with limiting the amount of time someone could speak on an issue.
I don't think we have that problem with planning and zoning.
Yeah, you already have that up here. To promote meeting efficiency, they may discourage duplicative testimony and may place reasonable but equal time limits.
Okay, so that's already covered.
And it's, 1686.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay.
Is that okay to keep deleted?
Yep.
Okay. And then public hearing format. It's the intent. So all these paragraphs I took off because I've been advertising these as the public hearing will be at 7 o'clock or as reasonably possible thereafter or something like that. rather than trying to guess what time something needs to start. So then we're free if we need to, if we know that 1 million people showed up for public hearing number 2, when you set your agenda, we can move that to the beginning. You know, we can make those kind of changes if we haven't advertised it for odd different times than when your meeting
Okay.
Actually starts. If that's okay.
Yes, that's okay.
Okay, and then under the chairperson duties, I did take out or propose to take out that one of the things that you could do with public is to select 1 or 2 spokespersons to represent groups of people, because I think everybody does have a right to be heard. They might naturally sort themselves that way, but I don't think we can cause that to happen.
I'd like to go back to 15 and make a comment on the officers and members. The reason why that read every 3rd year you'd appoint the people. We used to have what they call a 9-member board here. And that's why it's, I'm glad you got that changed, because that's one of the things I was gonna bring up. It, now we can see it. 1 year we'll have, every 3 years we'll have, three people appointed, and the other 2 years they'll have two people appointed. But it used to be every 3 years they'd appoint somebody.
7 people on this.
There was 9 on our
I
planning.
was saying there's only 7
Yeah.
now, but,
The way they got it worded now is good,
okay.
but that's the reason why it had to be changed. I just wanted to bring that out, Cindy.
Sure.
I don't see a problem under 16.
No, I don't either.
Okay.
Number 17. We've had that
17.
problem.
You what?
We've had vacancies.
Yeah, and I just want to simplify it, that vacancies during the term shall be filled by the city council for the unexpired portion of the term.
Simple.
Simple, just very simple. Plus, if somebody,
Okay.
somebody can't give notice if they died.
Okay.
That's what actually caused me to start rewording it. The affected member couldn't give notice if they died. Amendments.
I don't know. I don't
Okay,
know.
hold on, before we go any further.
Yep.
Vacancies. Yes, obviously, the vacancy occurs when there's a reason for all these, these listed items. And the notice shall be given to the administrator, which obviously someone's gonna notify them. But I don't think the city council should fill this spot. I think it should be filled by the committee that actually has to deal with the person.
No, ultimately, the city council fills that spot. And
They
I
approve
believe,
it.
No.
They feel it.
They appoint,
They appoint.
they get appointed in the first.
So they do the interviewing and the appointing. They don't even ask the committee what they want?
No, no.
Well, that seems really biased.
But the policy has changed now. She found out that for us to get on the committee, you have to sign up for it. That's what Mr. Commissioner Hippo did, and that's what Commissioner Lewis did. They had to sign up, apply for it. And
I did too.
yes, I'll let her explain.
You never interviewed us.
No, I was interviewed
Yeah.
by this committee.
Oh, yeah, we were not.
Yeah,
Yeah, we weren't. Yeah.
years and years ago. We won't go there.
Well, what was happening in the past is nobody, if you wanted to renew your term, I think what was happening in the past is somebody just called you and said, hey, do you want to do it again?
That's right.
Instead of having you actually fill an application and have other people be able to apply if they wanted to. So this year we did kind of go back to that policy where you have to actually fill out the application again.
That-
Let us know that
okay.
you're interested.
Okay.
And had somebody else been interested, then it would have to be appointed by the city council.
Okay.
By their
So-
interview process.
I feel like that's a really, I mean, yes, the council needs to approve it, because that's the whole body of the nature of the beast. But why wouldn't they let the committee itself do the interviewing process? Doesn't that seem kind of like an added thing?
Can I add just a quick
You're
comment?
gonna speak?
Well, this is not my meeting, so I've been listening. So the key point is that that's a process that, I mean, right now you're writing the policy. So if you want to be part of it and you'd say, hey, anybody that wants to be on the planning and zoning, they can come for an interview process. It would be an open process. And you would provide a recommendation for the city council.
That's what I'm thinking. Easiest for the council, right?
It is, but I do believe the full city council will have to agree to that because they are the final say.
Of course they
and
define.
decide,
But this recommendation is coming out of here. It still has to go to city council.
Yes.
So if that's a process you would like, you would write it in here, because this still has to be approved.
What's
Well,
easier?
Just out of curiosity.
Oh, may I interject? I put up on the screen your regarding the planning commission. So I think before you could add in stuff like that, we do need to update that ordinance too, because truthfully, it doesn't have half the stuff that this ordinance should have.
We have no idea what you're talking about, dear.
Can you see what I have on the screen?
No, all we see is the,
Well, section 17.
section 17 vacancies.
See your other
That's
screen.
so funny because I've had it up here for like 5 minutes now.
No,
About this section.
we got nothing, sorry.
You must be sharing a different window.
Ah.
The
We
whole
see you
time I've been-
now.
The entire time I've been sharing like I always do, which is share my screen.
which we could see all of that.
You only saw one window maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a, okay, no.
So like right now, you can't see section 1 planning commission.
Yeah, but now we've got it.
Oh,
Okay, well, anyways, so part of the changes with the other part too of making it simpler is that technically the city council can also just by majority vote remove any one of you. So there's different ways that vacancies can happen as well.
Yes.
But this ordinance is only a page and a third and is missing like half the stuff it should really have in there. For example, it's missing all the stuff about staggered terms and things that really should be in here. If you guys want to institute something that's more of a process, I think we update this ordinance first and put it in there and then update that policy part related to that piece of it later.
Okay,
That makes sense.
Because I think some of this might drive what some of that would look like.
okay. So put this on hold to. No, just that
No,
section, just that section on hold.
Yeah, just wait on that part about the interviewing and stuff till after we get this ordinance update, then we can revisit this little part.
Okay. So that
I
would
think
be
we're
vacant.
probably months away from doing that, so.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense then. Didn't know that there was an ordinance section that didn't exist. Fully.
Well, like I said, there's reasons to have some other stuff in there too that. Some of it actually used to exist. It looks like you guys took it out several years ago.
We
but it-
don't know.
I don't know either. So I just want to put it all back in.
No problem. We'll put it in as we need it. We can do it.
Yeah.
Amendments.
There's a couple of typos and amendments.
Okay.
Ends with and on that blue part. So is there supposed to be something else after that?
I don't know. Okay, in amendments, that section,
Yes.
Yes.
where is there a typo?
It says and then it's, and there's a period.
The corrections that you've added.
Clearly I stopped for some reason.
And then it probably should say are included instead of is included. with amendments.
I think this was supposed to be in the packet.
No committees, that's fine.
Good with that.
Yeah, it didn't seem like committees were needed.
No,
Not
in this situation.
I think all the conduct stuff is fine. I did take out this sentence because, it's one thing to do, well, I took it out for two reasons. This is commission members are referring questions to us, and then we're supposed to report them back to the council. So it just seemed like a little odd that we would necessarily do that, and partly just because we get a lot of just regular referrals to us anyways. That don't necessarily, you know, we just address them, handle them, and it's done. So having to do extra communication to report back, unless it was something, you know, I think we use our judgment when we need to do that. Sometimes, you know, it makes sense to have to do that, but other times it's literally a easy question that somebody had, and
Okay,
Seems fine.
yep.
and then I propose to strike this whole section on remedies.
Is this ever needed?
I feel like it popped up for a reason. I hate that I
I
can
figured you guys would know if you needed it or not, but
it stirs something in me and I don't exactly know why. I can't put a thumb on it, I don't know why.
You deal with it.
So, we can strike it, it's cool.
I mean, ultimately, no matter what, the city council has the ability to remove a member if they felt like it was necessary. So that's sort of the ultimate remedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bad kid.
Is that all you have then, Cindy?
That's all I have. So if you want, I can make you a clean version for your next meeting, or I can take it with these changes that we talked about.
Clean
And I can
version
have
would be
the-
great.
Pardon me?
Clean version would be great, along with, we're probably gonna tackle section 1 now.
Oh, you mean the planning commission ordinance? Yes.
Yeah.
But the question, so last year what we did was, before I gave you the clean version, we had the city council review and approve it.
Oh,
So the question is, do you want to have the city council review it, or do you want one more look at this before I send it to the city council?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem.
we can send it off, why not?
Okay,
I
then we
love
just
it.
need you to make a motion to that effect.
Oh, okay.
Well-
But there's a section that we're not gonna do now because we want to,
17 was gonna be.
Could we
Yeah.
just edit it later when the.
We just leave that as it is for now, and
Okay.
then we can, once we update the other section, we can come back around and grab that one.
okay,
Now, I have a question to ask you. Do we table this in?
No.
she just asked us for a motion, so I'll
So-
make a motion to send all of the changes we've just done to council for approval. And she's gonna update these in the ordinance and bring it back to us next month, February 25th, for us to review again
Okay,
and make any final changes, which should be minimal.
we understand Commissioner Pearl's.
And I suppose incorporate any changes city council may want to make.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what
Yeah.
it should be. Yes,
Yeah.
agreed. Sorry.
Okay.
I forgot about them.
We have a second this one.
Second that.
Commissioner Hippel seconded it. And Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 It was a majority, so it passed. So, there's nothing else here.
Commissioner Jordan.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen.